Hello, dear friends. You are watching the U.S. Daily News Channel. We continue our daily coverage of events on the front lines. Before we begin, please subscribe to the channel and like this video to help more people access the truth. We have many important updates to discuss, so let's get started. We will begin with the most critical areas, starting with the situation in the direction of Suji. According to available information, Russian forces continue to clash over the settlement of SOV. Yesterday, they significantly improved their positions. The dynamics in this area are changing rapidly, with adjustments to the map almost daily. For example, yesterday we updated the central part of the front to the west. On February 15th, we clarified a small pocket in the area. A few days ago, pro-Russian sources reported full control of these fields in Russia's favor. Today, NATO cartographers confirmed this information. There have been no significant updates regarding the Ukrainian counterattack in this area, which likely means there is little activity. Additionally, Russian forces continue to target Ukrainian vehicles attempting to move toward Suji. Anything traveling on road number 7 ends up on what is now known as the Road of Death, often being destroyed within hours or even minutes. In the southern direction near Kopans, Russian forces continue their offensive operations. Reports indicate that they have nearly completed the battle for the settlement of Yolka, the last settlement before reaching the small village of Taz. Taz is the final Ukrainian-held settlement on the Russian side of the Jobit River. The collapse of Ukrainian positions in this area seems imminent, marking the beginning of the battle for Lyman. We have analyzed multiple geolocation markers. One of them shows an attack by Ukrainian FPV drones on Russian frontline positions. Based on this footage, we have updated the map, marking forested areas and parts of Yampolivka. Pro-Russian sources have also adjusted their maps, completely marking Yolka as under Russian control. However, we have not fully confirmed this, as reports suggest Ukrainian forces are still present in the southwestern corner of the settlement. This may not remain relevant for long, as Russian forces are expected to secure the area within a day or two. In the direction of Konstantinivka, Russian forces continue their offensive. Today, we have multiple updates, including the first confirmed videos from the settlement of Novodmitrivka. As seen in the footage, Russian forces have reached the outskirts of the settlement. Russian forces have now fully established control over FPV drones in the first districts of Konstantinivka. This is a significant development, as it marks the first confirmed video evidence of Russian troops reaching the outskirts of the settlement and successfully destroying Ukrainian positions in the area. This represents not only a tactical success but also a psychological blow to Ukrainian forces. Until recently, Konstantinivka was considered a city deep in the rear, far from the front line. Now, the reality has shifted. It is directly in the combat zone. The battlefield dynamics near Viva are evolving at an unprecedented pace. This may be the fastest-moving sector along the entire front line. A few days ago, Russian forces launched an offensive in this region. Initially, Ukrainian forces counterattacked and, by February 10th, managed to regain control of Vodiandra. However, the Russians quickly regrouped. Rather than being a simple counteroffensive, Ukraine's maneuver was likely an attempt to shorten defensive lines and slow down Russian advances. By February 11th, Russian forces resumed their assault. According to multiple sources, they successfully blocked the N32 highway, an objective they had briefly achieved weeks or even months prior. February 12 * heavy clashes erupted around Vodiandra. February 13 * Russia's Ministry of Defense confirmed that Vodiandra had been completely captured. Ukrainian forces released footage showing airstrikes against advancing Russian tanks and vehicles. February 14 * reports confirmed that Russian forces had seized full control of Zeleny Pol. Both pro-Russian sources and Russia's Ministry of Defense corroborated this information. February 15 * new terrain changes were reported. The most critical update is that Russian troops have launched an offensive toward Malinivka. Securing Malinivka is a crucial objective for Russian forces. By capturing both Malinivka and Merno, they will be able to strengthen their western flank, preventing potential counterattacks from Ukrainian forces based in the Pokrovsk region. Russian troops are likely to consolidate their positions here to ensure they can repel any Ukrainian attempts to regain lost ground. In addition to this offensive, Russian forces launched an attack on the settlement of Taraska. Reports from pro-Russian sources indicate that Borova, a small village north of Vodiandra, has now been fully captured. The situation for Ukrainian forces in Viva is becoming increasingly dire. Russian territorial control is expanding rapidly, and this sector is shaping up to be the site of a decisive battle. Currently, much speculation surrounds potential negotiations, with China and the US focusing on resources while Russia aims to secure more land. However, despite widespread discussions, no party appears ready for diplomatic talks. Both Russia and Ukraine, backed by their respective allies, still possess significant military strength. Until a decisive battle takes place, peace negotiations remain unlikely. Looking ahead, the decisive battle of 2025 is expected to unfold between the cities of Pskov and Konstantinivka. In the first half of the year, likely before summer, Russia will attempt to seize control of as much territory as possible along the N32 road. Their goal is to reach the Klyan Beasts Reservoir and establish strategic connections with the city of Toretsk. Everything within this marked area is a priority for Russian forces, and in the coming months, they will likely seek to fully consolidate control over it. Russian forces are positioning themselves for a decisive confrontation, forcing Ukraine to make a critical choice: defend Konstantinivka or Pokrovsk. From their current positions, Russian troops can launch attacks on either city, creating a dilemma for Ukrainian forces. While Russia can rely on a single army for its offensive, Ukraine must deploy large numbers of troops to both locations, uncertain where the main attack will come. The Russians will likely strike where Ukrainian defenses are weakest. As a result, Ukraine may struggle to hold either city, potentially losing both. If this happens, it will mark the end of the decisive battle, with far-reaching consequences to follow. In the southern Donetsk region, Russian forces continue their advance. Fighting near the settlements of Okeratine and Konstantinivka remains intense, with small but steady territorial gains. On February 5, Russian troops made further progress in open fields, moving closer to Uruzhain. Additionally, Russian forces have released footage showing the use of FPV drones equipped with fiber optic technology to disrupt Ukrainian vehicles. These developments indicate ongoing tactical adjustments on the battlefield. The front line near Velika Novosilka is shifting rapidly. Almost daily, Russian armored vehicles push forward, prompting continuous map adjustments in their favor. Since February 10, reports from both pro-Russian and pro-Ukrainian sources as well as neutral observers have confirmed these territorial changes. Ukrainian forces appear unable to halt Russian progress. The exact Russian strategy remains unclear, but new video evidence shows reconnaissance units advancing northward near Uruzhain. These forces are probing Ukrainian defenses, using vehicles to identify positions before withdrawing and calling in artillery strikes. While reconnaissance efforts continue, Russian forces are steadily establishing control in the area. At present, multiple Russian offensives are underway, including Konstantinivka and Pokrovsk, the southern Donetsk sector, the Lyman direction, Doroshivka, the Sumy region. Interestingly, little has been reported from the Okeratine sector in the past 6 months. Both Russian and Ukrainian forces seem to have narrowed their focus, concentrating combat efforts on a smaller section of the 1,000 kilometers front line. Active clashes are occurring along only about 30% of this vast territory, raising questions about potential behind-the-scenes agreements between Russia and Western nations. A key topic in recent discussions is Ukraine's vast mineral wealth. A few days ago, the United States appointed a special representative to negotiate agreements regarding Ukraine's resources. Meanwhile, the European Union has expressed support for Kyiv and is considering sending troops. Reports suggest the EU may deploy up to 100,000 soldiers, though other sources indicate a lower figure, around 25,000. However, military analysts estimate that securing Ukraine's front line would require at least 120,000 troops. European nations seem to be offering Ukraine a trade-off: access to mineral resources in exchange for military assistance. Instead of financial aid, they propose sending troops to reinforce Ukrainian positions. However, President Zelensky likely understands that this level of support would not be enough to shift the balance on the battlefield.